Hello, you're listening to the Saluki Gamescast. This is episode 125 for Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Ooh, it's getting spooky.
I was going to say, yes, this podcast does still exist.
Oh.
See, mine was so much happier. Yours is just bitter.
Mine was happy. We're still here. We're
Look
still
at his
here.
shirt too. Like it's happy, scary. It's like brightly colored horror villain.
It's Andy Warhol.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's slashers via Andy Warhol. Yes, we're back after, as Mario noted, a slightly extended break. Fall break fell in there, and then there were scheduling issues for us, so we ended up with a couple weeks off there. But my name is Justin Young, and joining me, as always, are Christina Ivey and Mario Sanders. You've already heard Mario. He jumped in with his...
Christina talked too.
Yes, but like you jumped in with your like negative.
Wow.
I didn't say anything this time.
Christina was being positive for a change.
Ooh.
Wait, was that your ghost?
Oh, I think so. It's because it's spooky season. Yeah.
But it is good to be back. How have the two of you been?
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously that's part of the reason why we haven't done an episode, but it just feels like I haven't had a weekend off in like a month, 2 months almost. Yeah. You're in the middle of prelims, right?
Yeah. So that's mostly been it. It's just trying to grind away on these papers.
This is his break. Coming here.
Yeah.
Getting away from prelims.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, that's what I did the other podcast with Johnny, and Johnny basically said the same thing. I was like, this is my mental health break.
And we've already attacked you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just trying to add to the
Yeah.
pressure and everything.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You don't get too comfortable.
Right.
You're going back into that office.
Have you been mostly working here?
I've been trying to split up. Some in here, some at one of the coffee shops in the next town over. I don't feel like I'm super productive working at home. I think there's just too many distractions. If I have to be, I will be. And I think as the deadline gets closer, as unfortunate as it is, I'm going to start being more and more productive as the deadline approaches. But yeah, I think the nice thing about like having my own office is I can kind of just stay here as long as I want. I know there was one day I think I left here at like 12:15 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Because I was just, I think I had said, I was like, I'm not leaving until this first question is done.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a week and a half ago at this point.
Oh,
but
good.
I'm kind of getting close to that with this next question is probably, it's easier to do that on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just because I don't teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if I'm here super late, I can just sleep in.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll finish question 2 today, but I do think I'm hoping to have a later night here. And like I said, having my own office, I can kind of just chill and take as long as I want.
That was one of the cool things about grad school is like my brain naturally wants to work between the hours of like 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. Like that's when I get the most done.
Me too.
Yeah. And I don't know why, but my brain is just like, let's go. And I have not really been able to do that successfully until like since graduate school.
I wake up in the morning and, the mentality is like, okay, I'm going to treat this as though it's a 9 to 5 and that's when I'm going to work. And I just get so little done during that period but I'll be laying in bed and like all these ideas are coming and I'm just like, well, I guess I'm just going to type all this out on my phone and then I'll transfer it to the document tomorrow.
Yeah. And like, it was really useful to have like someone in grad school was like, think about writing as a process, right? So reading counts as writing something, doing the notes and stuff like that. And that was a breakthrough for me because I was like, oh, I'm so lazy. I only can work here and here. But kind of parsing it out like that, it made it much easier, at least for me.
I think that's good advice, because I know when I have a big project like that I'm working on, that I feel lazy if I'm not sitting in front of a computer typing.
Yep.
And then, but like that realization of, oh, I am making notes.
Yep.
And so, I'm pretty good about, like, an idea comes to me, put it into the note app or something else I'm using.
Yep.
And like, okay, this is writing, and going for a jog and like thinking about it is writing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And you're right. It is one of those things that I think, we live in a society where it's like tangible progress is the only like real progress.
Right.
Or the only like real work is something that, again, you can like actually see. And so like when you can scroll through the pages, you can be like, okay, I did actually do something today. But yeah, I think I'm right there in the sense of like, okay, if the first day of starting one of the new questions is me just doing a bunch of reading, that's obviously not useless.
Exactly.
Or a complete waste of a day.
Right.
I think that's just generally good advice for grad school and, for grad school students, because I know a lot get overwhelmed, and it's like, no, like going to the coffee shop and getting a coffee, even if you're not going there to write, is a break to let your brain like sort of decompress. And that is helpful and healthy. And like, if you sit and try to pound everything out in a day, like you will fry yourself.
Exactly.
And, like, I think one of the things that we like kind of culturally don't do enough is recognize that sort of intellectual work is physically exhausting.
Yes. I talk about this in one of my papers. It's like, we totally understand when like an athlete, retires relatively early, right? Because they've put their body through a lot. Of course, like they're gonna need to, find something else. But like academics put our brains through a lot of that kind of, rigor. I hate that word, but and I'm not saying we should retire early or anything, but it's like understanding that what goes into it. I think sometimes for folks who aren't in academia, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Back when I was originally in college, we used to shoot a lot of like short films, and I would, I would talk to somebody the next day, and they'd be like, "Oh, you just seem so exhausted. Why are you so tired?" And I'd be like, "Well, first off, we were out to like 3 a.m. filming, because we need to film at night."
Yep.
And we need students not to be around while we're filming. But like the other thing was, I was directing, and so you're like juggling 50 balls at once. And you would come home from it and you'd be like, I'm physically exhausted. Like my body is shutting down.
But your brain won't.
But I haven't done anything. I haven't, physically done a whole lot, but my brain has been working so much that has drained me physically. And I often think like we don't value that enough. I mean, I think, like you hear this from like doctors in residency and stuff, that, this is why they have like higher levels of mistakes and stuff, because they're just physically like dead at the end of the day.
I know like during my dissertation, like I would go and write, I would go teach, and then I would go write. And then by the time I got home, I couldn't turn my brain off either, because it was still like going around. And so I would just play video games and then maybe sleep for like a couple hours and then get up and do the whole thing over again.
I felt so bad. So yesterday I was sitting in my office. I was talking to Sean, one of the other grad students, and Sakshi had come by, and she had asked me to relay to the other grad students. She's teaching a special topics course, and she had asked if I could at least like get some ideas in terms of like what their interests were. And I had said that, and she starts talking. I honestly can't even tell you what she said to me at this point. She starts talking, and I don't know, 10, 15 seconds go by, and I literally had to stop her. I'm like, Sakshi, I'm not comprehending literally anything that you are saying right now. I'm happy to have this conversation
Yeah.
again in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
but I'm getting none of
I'm sure she understands. She just finished her disc.
Oh, she did. I mean, I still
couple
felt
years
bad
ago.
about
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because I was just like, I felt like I totally shut her down, but
Like,
it was just like,
please.
I cannot process anything that you're trying to tell me at this point in time.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a great podcast. Mario hasn't understood a word we've said so far.
except when he got attacked.
Yeah,
That's all he'll remember from this
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly.
Those guys are just mean. All right, why don't we move on to what we've been playing? Christina, what have you been playing?
So I haven't been playing a whole lot because I've been busy. I have been kind of dabbling with my Diablo characters a little bit, like when I can actually stand to play. But most of it has been me just watching a whole lot of CloverPit, which I've talked about already, but now it's kind of gotten a little more popular. And Northern Lion has been playing it a whole lot, and I watch him. So, yeah, just a whole lot of CloverPit.
What do you play as in Diablo?
So typically I play as a necromancer, but right now I've been experimenting with different spirit-born things, because you can choose like either the gorilla, the jaguar, or the centipede. The centipede, the first one that I did, it was kind of broken. Like, it was way overpowered, where I had to bump up my level like a few things, and it still was really easy. So I was trying to see, like, okay, centipede is OP. What are the other ones? Oh, and there's an eagle too. The eagle I didn't like at all. I scrapped all of that, and now I'm playing as the jaguar stuff. So, yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's mainly just like me doing the little bitty tasks that people need in the town and stuff like that, because when I get on, I don't have a whole lot of time, but I can do one of those easily in like 15-20 minutes.
To me, that's always been like kind of the joy of Diablo. It's a game you can jump in and out of really quick.
Yep.
And it's sort of this sounds disparaging, but it's sort of a mindless game to some degree, particularly if you're into the post-game stuff.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, as I always say, it's a good podcast game.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Is that it?
Yep.
All right. Mario.
Yeah, so the two that I have played have been, one has been CloverPit, which is fine. I don't like it as much as Luck Be a Landlord, which is also a slots-based roguelike. But it's fine. I beat it in terms of like I got the true ending, which I played it a lot until I got to that point, and now I'm like, I don't know if I'll play it again.
Fair.
It's cool, but like I said, I preferred Luck Be a Landlord when it came to that style of game.
For sure.
And then the other one is Ball X Pit, however you want to pronounce it, which I know you'll also be talking about if you want to talk about that together.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty fun. It's one of those things I'll do like one run and then turn it off because I need to, get back to work. But I've played it a good amount, have unlocked a few of the characters. I have a friend who's been playing it a ton. He really likes it as well. So I've seen some of the extra characters and some of the further levels on. But that's a cool game. It's the easiest way to describe it is it's sort of like a brick breaker, but
Like Breakout or, that style of game.
yeah, the enemies like scroll down the screen, and there's like these specialized balls that you can shoot out that does damage to them over time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a lot of roguelikes in that you're kind of getting these special items and everything that sort of roll at random to you. You get to pick among 3 options. And you're choosing. I think the thing that makes it really fun is that you can evolve and have two balls that merge together, or you can fuse two balls together.
Yeah, it's sort of. I was trying to think of what the other game was that it feels like. It's sort of Vampire Survivors like in the way that you can fuse items, or even just in the something about the presentation of the how you select them feels reminiscent of
That's
it.
what a lot of the things that I'm looking at right now are comparing it to Vampire Survivors.
Well, and one of the characters does auto shoot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even that makes it feel even more like Vampire Survivors.
I think I have the auto shoot on pretty much all the time. I mean, there's definitely some cases where I'll turn it off, but I'm kind of an exclusive auto shoot.
Yeah. I mean, it's just easier because otherwise you're just holding down a button the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part. This is, I mean, we both played the demo over the summer and talked about it. Maybe it was the beginning of summer, end of summer, I forget. Yeah. I like half of this game an awful lot, and the other half I really dislike. So
we're in the same boat when it comes to, I don't dislike it. I feel it feels unnecessary.
There is a part where you're sort of playing Breakout, like he talked about. There's a well, and these different creatures on different levels, depending on which map that you're playing, are coming down at you, and so you're bouncing balls up to hit them and everything, and wipe them off the board. And that part of the game is fantastic, and it's very fun and extremely addictive. Like it's one of those games where you just constantly feel like just one more run.
It's an easy, and they're quick, right?
Yeah.
I think like even the slowest mode is 15 minutes.
Oh,
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it goes very quick to run through those and everything. And then there is the other half of the game, and maybe it's not a full half, maybe it's more a third of the game as a way to look at it. But you are building a base, sort of building a little village by placing on a grid different little buildings that you find blueprints from in the other part of the game. And each building gives you different bonuses. And so, like, for example, you can have a field of wheat, and then you have to harvest that. And the way that you harvest it, later you can get it automatically harvested for you. But the way that most of the time you're harvesting is you are also playing a sort of Breakout style game, breaking game.
Buster Bros or Bust a Move.
Yeah, so you're shooting people up, shooting balls up to hit these different buildings. So even after you put a building down, you then have to finish construction of it. And it is you having to figure out how to lay all this stuff out, and like how are you going to bounce things at an angle, and it's very limited in how you can aim your shot, and it just feels at all times cumbersome and an annoyance.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that I wish, I get it. Roguelikes, they all have to have like their
Meta game.
Their progression, the permanent progression and like upgrades and stuff like that. You buy buildings that give you more balls and stuff. But the part of me that is just like, I don't like it's the resource management with because you have the wheat and you have the wood and you have the stone, and like those are used to build the buildings. You need more than just the blueprint. And part of me is like,
you have to upgrade the buildings.
Yeah, it's just I was like, you should have just make it like Rogue Legacy. Like,
right.
Just let me spend the money to do the things. I don't want to have to do all the other parts, but it feels like, and I assume as you get further and further into the game, it probably is necessary to some extent.
Yeah.
Like if you want to beat those later levels, you can beat the first level without much. Like
you don't have to fool with that stuff.
And maybe even the first couple of levels, but I assume once you get to the 4th, 5th, 6th level, I think there's 9.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine you can beat that just with like the base character.
Well, so any
of the characters just at like their base skill.
So one of the things is that how you unlock additional characters, and each new character has different abilities. So like one character automatically fires all the time. One character, his balls all pass through enemies.
Oh, okay.
So that can be really great. So like if you have the poison ball, it'll pass through and it'll poison everyone that it touches. So it can poison like half the board. But the problem is you are now waiting for that to bounce back down to you at the bottom of the board.
Yeah.
So at times you can get overwhelmed as you're playing because there's so many enemies and your balls are up at the top bouncing around somewhere instead of bouncing right back to you where you need them. But the way that you unlock new characters to play is by building those buildings. And to unlock additional levels, you have to beat the previous levels with multiple characters. So you don't have to do that to unlock the second level. But after the second level, you have to like beat it with 2 different characters in order to unlock the third level. And then it keeps doing that. Like you have to beat it with more different characters, which is a cool way to get you to replay the levels, to play the different characters, learn the different, they each have a different kind of play style because of that. All that's fine. I would be okay with that. It's just interacting with that city building side of the game. Like, I wouldn't even mind that if the city building was just done better. Like, I mean, the game that this reminds me of to some degree is ActRaiser for the Super Nintendo. And that's a very action-focused side of the game. And then there's the city building. But in that game, the city building is simple enough that it's actually fun. And here I feel like the city building is never fun to me. I feel like I need to look up online like somebody's Let's Play to see what is the perfect layout for the city.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm never doing it right.
Right.
And I feel like there's a way to min-max that. And I'm more frustrated with trying to min-max it than I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, like I said, I've watched a friend play it, and his feels pretty well built.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's also part of it is you build the buildings, but then you have to, when you shoot the little characters, you have to hit that building with the characters a certain number of times for it to actually be built. And so then if that building isn't doing anything, it's just kind of sitting there, which means you're like constantly doing this reorganization of your city as you make it bigger. Because you can like buy these plots that essentially if it's like a 2x3 grid, it's more than that, but if it's, you can buy all these like additional grids that you can add. And so it's like, okay, well, I just added this grid. I'm not going to put a wheat field in this grid because I can't get to it. So I need to then pick up this building and put it over here. And so there's just certain parts of it that, that section, it needed a little more time in the oven or something, because it's certainly by far the part of the game I also enjoy the least. Like if that were not in the game, this would be not my game of the year, but it'd be a lot higher on the list. I'm sure we'll talk about it at the end of the year, and it might still make it onto a top 10, but it'll be lower towards 10 for me.
Yeah, it's one of the most clear examples in recent memory for me where one part of a game so drags down the total game. Like if that section was not there or it was handled better.
Or if it was more optional.
Right.
Yep.
Like again, just because of the progression of these styles of games, you know that you're going to have to engage with it meaningfully.
Yeah. I just feel like, because the part that is 2/3, I feel like, of what you're doing in the game, and maybe that's my problem, that I'm so focused on the brick breaking part, the well part, as it's called in the game. But like that part of the game I love. Like it's fantastic. It can be a little frustrating at times because it's, sometimes random what you're getting. But like you are constantly unlocking new balls and new new upgrades and everything as you like advance to new levels. And so all of that's fantastic.
And the progression with which they give you new characters is like pretty good as well. So it's not like I've played this with the same character however many times and I'm just waiting to get a new one.
Right.
They kind of drip feed the new characters at a pretty solid pace.
That's good.
So yeah, like I really like this game. I want to like it more than I like it. And it's that one part. And yeah, I'm like, like, yeah, I know you and I had talked about it earlier, Mario, but like I've also both talked to other people and seen other people online who have the exact same reaction. Like it feels like it's a clear-cut example of this game is not fully working as you envisioned it.
Yeah, I'll have to find a time when that friend is streaming again or just send him a DM and, get his more expanded thoughts on. Because I think he was pretty hesitant about it as well. But he's certainly engaged with it a bunch just because of how far he's made it into that game. But it's like, I hate to say it, but it's enough that it drags it enough that makes me in some ways hesitant to even recommend it to somebody.
Right.
I think the game is very cool, but but I need to tell you about this one part of the game first.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Actually, when I started playing the full version, having played the demo and been frustrated by that part in the demo, playing the full version, fairly early on, I kind of got mad. I kind of got angry at the game, and I was like, man, you just screwed this entire game with this section, and I think I'm going to quit playing because I'm kind of just annoyed. Like, it's not even that it's hard, it's just annoying. It's a section of the game that's just annoying to do. Like, I don't get any joy out of it. It feels like work, and it almost pushed me to that point. And I will say, that is my testament to how good the rest of the game is, that I have overcome that annoyance because I want to play more of the rest of the game.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that it's like, I don't even know if I'd say it's bad. It's not for me and it feels tedious. And if I could choose to not engage with it, I would not engage with it. Yeah. And it's the feeling obligated in many ways to do it that is really what drives, I think, that frustration for me as well.
It feels like it feels like the rest of the game is the theme park, and that's the job that you have to earn money at to go to the theme park.
That's the waiting in line.
It's just.
So if the developers are listening, we need a fast pass through that part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you could automate
auto build or something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like, I don't know, I was thinking about, if Alicia was here, she'd be able to identify this more. Kingdom Hearts, like where you had to like build the ship.
The gummy ship, yeah.
I hated that part so much. I was like, why?
It's the worst part of that game.
It by far. And I'm like, I don't understand why this is here. Like, I get that it might be somebody's thing, but it's
not.
It feels like if it was like it's they try to put two different games like together. Where the people who would like this part of the game are not going to like that part.
You could say that about multiple aspects of Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, sure. Okay, fair.
The gummy ship does feel like a pretty drastic departure from the rest of that game.
It's Blitzball in Final Fantasy X. Blitzball is, you have to engage with that at some point. Yep. And almost everyone I know is like, oh, I hate this. This is not actually a game I want to play. And the Final Fantasy games have had problems with mini games. Like, I guess Square in general has had problems with their mini games with some of that. And, but at least in something like Final Fantasy VII, when you have to snowboard down the mountain, it's like a quick segment. It's not long enough or difficult enough to really be frustrating. It just may be, well, that was dumb and a waste of time. Whereas I feel like in some games like the gummy ship in Kingdom Hearts or in the city building in Bollock's Pit, it is enough to actually almost turn you off from the game for some people.
Yep.
And again, different people are going to react differently. I could see somebody really getting into that segment of the game, but it's not for me.
Yeah, another friend was in. We were watching this friend's stream, and he was in the chat. He's like, "I really like city builders. Do you think I would like this part?" And
So do I.
It's like, well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it would be more up your alley than it is mine. But
I don't know. Yeah. Like, I like city builders, and this is not resonating at all with me.
Yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much what I've been playing. If you want to continue on with what you've been playing.
All right. Well, what I have played other than Ball X Pit, I played Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. So this is the 2D.
That's not the same game that you've been playing. When I looked at this, I was like, oh yeah, he's been playing that for a few weeks now. No, that was the Shinobi game.
Yes. And this is not the Ninja Gaiden that just came out this week. That's Ninja Gaiden 4.
This is the 2D one.
Yeah, this is the 2D one that came out over the summer along with Shinobi Art of Vengeance. Though not from the same company, as weird as that sounds. Two old ninja games getting revived at the same time. So this is sort of like Shinobi, and that is a callback to the 2D roots of Ninja Gaiden. So think the NES games. In fact, this is very much in the continuity of the original NES games. So this game actually begins with the prologue that you see in the first Ninja Gaiden game. You see it played out as a cinema. You actually get to play part of that. And then it has the Ryu character is in the early part of this game, and then it sort of veers off and you start playing as a different character. It is a throwback to those old style of games, but with more modern components. So you are upgrading your character as you go through the game, buying upgrades to their abilities. Certainly the controls are more in a modern style, but the graphics are very much in that sort of 8-bit retro style. It's not actually 8-bit quality graphics. They're like more high end. I think this game, this and Shinobi in a lot of ways both remind me of like a Sega Saturn game, like a 32-bit game. In their fidelity and everything, but like kind of trying to recapture that style of 8 and 16-bit games. So I just make that point to say, I think this is a good-looking game. It's not nearly as good-looking as Shinobi, but I still think it's a pretty good-looking game. It is a lot of fun. I don't think it's that hard of a game, though I've heard people complain about the difficulty of it. And maybe that's because I grew up playing the original Ninja Gaiden games. And
like, this is nothing.
Like, the original Ninja Gaiden, I still think is at least getting through at the end of that game is still like one of the hardest NES games. And I think this is not nearly that difficult, but it is certainly challenging. So if this is not the sort of game you normally play, it might, feel more challenging. It does have accessibility options, so you can kind of adjust the difficulty to your play style. It's just a lot of fun. It feels good. Like both of these games, I'm super impressed that they managed to capture controls that just feel good in the hand, that feel extremely natural. It feels very... the controls make sense for the most part the entire time as you're playing through the game and everything, that you're able to, jump and bounce off of this enemy and then parry this enemy and then leap across a chasm. And so you're, when you're in the zone, you're kind of constantly moving in the game, constantly attacking enemy, jumping up and hitting this enemy while landing and hitting this enemy in a pretty quick, smooth motion. And so it just feels fantastic in the way that I think a lot of these games miss that feeling. I think that's the hardest thing to capture in one of these 2D action games. This one feels really good. I think this has a more interesting story than Shinobi's. It's still very much that 8-bit goofy sort of style that, this is about different ninja clans and demons and that sort of stuff. So it's very anime and kind of goofy. But I think it has a better story because it is trying to tie into those original Ninja Gaiden games as sort of. So if you don't know, Gaiden means side story in Japanese. So the original Ninja Gaiden is Ninja Side Story, which makes no sense because it's not a side story to anything. This game is a side story to the original Ninja Gaiden game. So this actually makes more sense being called Ninja Gaiden than the original series did. I think they do a really good job of fitting that in and everything. There's a lot of kind of hidden secrets in this, and like you have to find those entrances to the hidden areas, and then often they'll have sort of a platforming section that you have to get through, a more advanced, difficult challenge of a platforming section. So that's a lot of fun. It has great bosses. I think the bosses are an awful lot of fun. If you like that sort of style of 2D pattern memorization and, having to execute precisely of, okay, it's going to throw this weapon at me and I have to jump over that, but it's going to immediately throw something at my head. So I have to duck immediately after jumping, and like kind of getting used to that sort of play. I think the thing that most blows my mind is we got 2 revitalizations of classic 8 and 16-bit franchises, and they're both exceptionally good. Like, these are 2 of the best games I've played all year. Nice. Like, these are fantastic games. I, sort of like Mario was saying with the last game, I'm hesitant to recommend them to everyone because I'm not sure if you didn't grow up with this style of game, if it'll resonate with you as much. Because we don't get a lot of these games these days. Dead Cells might be an example of this sort of style of game. So I can't say that it will resonate with everyone, but I have found it incredibly enjoyable playing through both of these. I would probably give a slight edge to Shinobi because I think it has more interesting level design. I think the fighting is more interesting. In that Ninja Gaiden is a little bit more straightforward. So I think Shinobi might be slightly the better game, but I could completely see somebody flipping that and viewing it the opposite, like preferring Ninja Gaiden over Shinobi.
How I remember you talking about Shinobi being a little like silly. Like there's sort of like a silliness to like the jokes or the characters.
Yeah,
or
sure.
Is Ninja Gaiden a little bit more serious or grounded?
Yeah, I think Shinobi very much, I think at the time I described it as a G.I. Joe episode. Like it sort of has that sort of goofiness to it. I think also that is hurt by the voice acting in Shinobi.
I do remember you saying that.
And I think that this game, for the most part, doesn't have voice acting, and that maybe actually helps it because it's not bad voice acting. I think this game, for me personally, the story works better in part because it is fitting into that classic Ninja Gaiden, and it sort of makes sense in that continuity. If you've played those original games, you were talking about demons invading the real world, and these ninja clans have to protect the world from it. There's goofiness. It's very anime. Sure. At one point, another ninja joins up with you, and it goes really anime at that point with how the story goes. Sort of. I don't want to spoil that. It is a few levels in, so I don't want to spoil the plot point. But it gets very goofy with that. But I feel like this is very much in that style. So again, how the stories are going to resonate are going to vary from person to person. I think this has a better throughput with the story. Like the story is more interesting, whereas with with Shinobi's, the story seems to be there as an excuse for the game, right? Like hey, we've made this game. Now we need to write a storyline that ties it all together. Yeah. Why are we going to have you on a surfboard in this level? What is our excuse? Well, we need to come up with an excuse to do this. Whereas this game feels more like, okay, this is sort of a classic Ninja Gaiden story. You know, there are demons invading the world. You have to stop them before, obviously, some sort of apocalypse happens. It's very Buffy coded, I suppose you could say. So yeah, I think this works better story-wise. I think Shinobi might be the slightly better game as far as like I said, level design and the combat. But like I said, I could completely see somebody flipping that personally. And, my opinion still may flip by the time I get done with both and, kind of have some time to think about them. But both of them are really fantastic. So I would highly recommend either of these. I don't think you can go wrong, other than I will say the difficulty might turn some people off. So the other thing I played just really quick, I played the demo for the Marvel Cosmic Invasion. That is the new 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up, belt scroller, depending on what term you want to use. This is from the Ninja Turtle people who did Shredder's Revenge, but this is using the Marvel characters. The demo has a limited number of characters you can select, so I played as Rocket Raccoon and She-Hulk. I will say the thing I liked very much is those characters played differently. So unlike the Ninja Turtles where they all basically are interchangeable, this feels much more something like Final Fight where the different characters feel different, have different abilities. This has a lot of kind of unique abilities that you can kind of like string together with your character. So, Rocket is much more agile. He can kind of like bounce off the enemies much easier and like move around the level much quicker, where She-Hulk is more kind of your brooding Hagar and Final Fight style character, which makes sense, big bodybuilder style character.
Right.
I think just playing the demo, what I took away from it was that it's kind of boring. The look of the game. The characters look really neat, but the characters you're fighting are just like sort of generic aliens.
I assume just kind of copy paste it over and over again.
Yeah, and the level designs themselves aren't that interesting. And so I just found it kind of boring, especially when you think about comic books. There's so many villains, but like those villains are sort of relegated to the end boss for the levels. I think the demo is like 2 levels. So maybe it gets better as you go along, but it seems fine. It's just not, it didn't blow me away the way that Shredder's Revenge did the first time I played it. Because that game felt like it captured so well the feeling of the Turtles arcade games. And this feels somewhat slightly more generic. It seems weird with the Marvel license, and with that many characters, because there's I don't know how many total characters in the full game, but even in the demo, I think there were at least 8 different characters you could pick from. And you choose 2 and you can switch back and forth between them as you go through the level. So that seems to be the real strength of it. I don't think I've ever seen a game that had both Rocket Raccoon and She-Hulk. You could play them. So yeah, we'll see when the final game comes out. Again, that was the demo. Not the full game doesn't come out till December, I believe. All right, let's move on into news. And there's been quite a bit of news because we've been off for a few weeks, so we might run through some of these fairly quick. Switch 2 has sold 2.4 million units in the first 3 months of release. That's more than any console ever in the U.S. So any worries about the Switch 2 being a success seems to have been assuaded by these numbers. that high price point we talked a lot about, the 450 to 500 price point, that seems not to have dissuaded people from plunking down and buying one of these. I think we'll know for sure when we look at Christmas, right? And see how, was this just all early adopters, or are kids going to be asking for this, and parents shelling out the money to buy these at Christmas? $450 to $500 is a lot of money at Christmas. But as we've talked about before, that's, kind of standard practice when you look at the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, at least. And of course, now with the higher prices, they're even more expensive. But anyways, good for the Switch 2. Seems to have not stumbled out of the gates, at least. Nintendo did increase production through the end of the first fiscal year release. That's March. So they are expecting, apparently this is meeting and exceeding their expectations for sales. Let's see. These numbers were released about looking at PlayStation profits by generation. And I just thought this was really kind of interesting because we talk a lot about maybe how the last two generations have been somewhat stumbles as people have moved to phone games and people have moved to playing games on PC. And these numbers look at how much PlayStation has made in billions of dollars each console generation. So the PlayStation 1 generation, they made $3 billion in profit. So these are profits, we should note. PlayStation 2 was a drop down to $2 billion, which that blows my mind because they completely dominated that console generation. That would have been against the GameCube and the original Xbox.
It's the greatest selling console of all time, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
goes to show maybe how expensive it was for them to make it.
Yeah, and that was a time when they were still selling the hardware at a loss. But you would have thought with the amount of software they were selling, they would have made that up somehow. But no, that is actually out of these 5 console generations, PlayStation 2 is the lowest of the 5 console generations, which just really blows my mind.
Except maybe PS3.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. PS3. Out of 4 console generations. PS3, though, is actually the worst because they actually lost money. $4 billion, that console generation. Which, again, is interesting because everybody thinks about the Xbox 360 dominating that console generation, and it did most of the console generation. But by the end, the PlayStation 3 had passed it in worldwide sales. So they ended up selling more hardware than Xbox in that console generation, but they lost a lot of money in the process. So this kind of reminds me of the 16-bit generation where Genesis got out to a big head start and the Super Nintendo played catch up and finally surpassed it by the end of the console generation. Though I think Nintendo did much better financially than Sony did here. And then PlayStation 4, which I feel like a lot of people view as, a kind of a stumble for them in a lot of ways, even though it was kind of a comeback from the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 4 felt like a console generation a lot of people weren't super excited about. They actually made $9 billion in profit. And then PlayStation 5, which is obviously not over yet, $13 billion already. So those higher console prices, those higher game prices, and I would suspect a lot of this has to do with the shift to buying games digitally.
Sure.
That as more people have started buying games digitally, of course, Sony is getting, a 30% cut, even if it's not their game. So that contributes a lot to this. Probably a lot of the games as a service type games, something like Fortnite, because they're getting a cut of any time you buy what they're called V-Bucks or whatever in Fortnite. They're getting a cut of that. I would guess that speaks more to this than simply game sales alone.
Sure, absolutely.
But just kind of surprising, I think. particularly to see how much dramatically higher these last two console generations have been.
I mean, well, I think even just the 5 in general to have a 150% increase, right? Or not a 150% increase, but a 50% increase over the PlayStation 4.
And the generation I use.
Yeah, it's well, I was gonna say maybe it's half over. It's probably closer to being over than that, but that's, I think, really remarkable.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's sort of, again, this kind of gets back to something we talk about on here often, which is that this is a business. And oftentimes our perceptions of how the game industry is doing or how a publisher is doing are very different than the financials.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, one more thing that I think is, maybe it's not surprising because it was eventually going to catch up, was how slow this generation started, right? Like right at the beginning of COVID, and just like how slow the delays in actually like getting into people's homes, of like how hard it was to get one at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, it kind of goes, all that flies in the face of kind of these numbers, because it really felt like this generation, you know, again, has been maybe somewhat of a stumble for both PlayStation and Xbox in different ways. So this next story kind of ties into this. These numbers came out that around 60% of U.S. players buy 2 or fewer games per year. We kind of talked about this previously. You know, I always talk about it in terms of the frat gamer, the person who buys Madden football and one other game per year, probably Call of Duty in a lot of cases, maybe NBA 2K. But that sort of gamer, I know that's a stereotype, but that sort of gamer who is buying one game every year without fail, usually a sports title or maybe a Call of Duty, and then they'll pick up one other game based on, you know, whatever is hot that year, you know, whatever is the big title. And that seems to be most players.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I know as a kid, like, I did not, you know, like, say 12, I did not have money to go buy a new game every month. Yeah. So most of my games came from birthday or Christmas presents. Yeah. So I don't know if I was getting 2 a year, but like that's probably pretty close, particularly when I was really little. That was probably, you know, not too far off. I was renting a lot more games than I was buying. And so I could believe this. I could believe this about a lot of kids. But you know, this is not all kids. This is also 60% would have to be adults in there as well.
Yeah, because now that you say like the renting thing, I was like, yeah, and that's not an option anymore. But folks have things like the Xbox Game Pass and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wonder if that's got to throw the numbers off at some degree.
That, or even like PlayStation Plus as well, like any of those services where you're getting games but not maybe buying them in the conventional way.
Technically, I didn't, because like I had Diablo on PS4, but so Diablo is like the base whatever was free on PlayStation Plus, but then I bought the upgrade.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah.
I also wonder, and maybe this is not all that relevant, I wonder how if this would change if you looked at households like in its entirety, in the sense of like if you have a couple that both have a Switch, let's say, if they would consider that like, well, both of us are like, we're buying games, we're sharing all these games. So it's like one person's bought 7 games, the other person's bought 0 games.
Right.
You know, that sort of like, again, that might not change the numbers dramatically, but like, I think that probably is the case in a number of instances.
Well, I think that's true, that certainly the gaming market has expanded. And so the number of people that you would have to take into account today is very different than, say, 30, 40 years ago. So you are taking into account that, in, let's say, an adult household, right, where 40 years ago, maybe there weren't that many adults playing video games. Yeah. But now where, they have a computer or they have some device that can run these games, where they are going out and buying, one or two games a year that kind of catch their interest. I know I've talked before, I have friends who own a Switch and they buy like maybe one or two games a year, and it's going to be something like the new Zelda, and they might buy, like a Mario Party or something, or, those sorts of games. So they're not what I would call a big video game player by any stretch of the imagination, but also they didn't exist in the market 30 years ago for the most part.
That or you've got, the people who are, I play Stardew Valley. That's all I play.
Right.
I've been playing it for 10 years, and those people are still incredibly satisfied.
Yeah.
Right.
Those people are the ones waiting for the Animal Crossing on Switch.
Right.
I was going to say the Chocolatier game.
Oh,
that is
yeah.
his next game. But
Well,
Animal
either
Crossing,
of those.
yeah,
Whichever comes
same
first.
game, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the sort of casual gamer that, really didn't exist, again, 30 years ago. There's also the games as a service to consider.
Yeah. Well, that or I think of like those are the people who were playing Candy Crush, right? 5-10 years ago are now have upgraded with like scare quotes around it to having a Switch, but they're still playing the one game that is their game.
Yeah. But like I said, the games as a service, you have to consider that there are the people who play Fortnite and nothing else. And how many games are they buying? Or, the people who play DBD, Dead by Daylight, but like, I'm not actually picking on you, but like, I do mean there are people who play Dead by Daylight and that is the main thing that they play. And they're maybe only buying one or two games a year because 80% of their time is spent on that one game.
Well, or
80% of the money that is going into in-game purchases.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, because you have to buy each chapter that comes in, and so or the new outfits that come out for things.
And that didn't exist 15 years ago. Maybe MMOs, right? So you had World of Warcraft or something like that. But 15 years ago, the market for that type of player didn't exist.
Right.
So I think it's really, when you look at these numbers, it's about expanding the market. And like maybe more than the market itself shrinking.
Yeah.
Let's see. As part of this, I thought this was interesting. NBA 2K26 is the #1 grosser in August. So it is the game that made the most money, not sold the most copies. And it did this even though only the $100 and $150 editions of the game were available in August. So the standard $70 version of the game wasn't even available for sale in August. So people buying that more expensive version of the game, one of the two more expensive versions, managed to push that game to be the highest grossing game of the month.
When it goes back to me, I see those versions and I'm like, why would anybody get that? Like whatever the bonus outfits you get, or the, customize my character with, a jersey or the shoes or whatever, those things that I'm just like, I would never engage with that. How much like that matters to people, like that people really want all of that extra content.
And if you're only buying 2 games a year, then spending $100 on NBA 2K26 doesn't seem as absurd as it does for someone like you who's maybe buying a couple games a month.
Well, especially when I imagine those people are putting probably hundreds of hours into NBA 2K, where $100, like I feel like I've still made my money's worth plus some, if I've put hundreds of hours into a game.
Yeah. I mean,
as compared to, I don't know, if I'm only getting 10 hours out of this $60 game, it, feels a little bad sometimes.
Yeah.
Or we talk about all the indie games, getting 60 hours out of something like Balatro is a great deal.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think this is really interesting. And I put this all together because I think actually all three of those stories kind of tie into one another.
Yeah, for sure.
When you start thinking about the economics of the industry and how it's shifting. It's not the same as it was when I was a kid, which is sometimes difficult to wrap my head around. Like, the game industry doesn't work the same way. It's not everybody rushing out to buy whatever the new hot game is. Some people are going to buy their NBA 2K regardless every year. And I'm the sort of person who buys NBA 2K when it goes on sale for $20.
I was talking about that with a friend with the newest, all the WWE games. Like, we're
Sure.
just a year behind because it's going to be basically free at some point when the new one comes out.
Let's see. Nintendo released a Close to You Pikmin short film. And so did we talk about this on the last podcast? Had this come out at the time? Okay. No. So anyways, they released this film. It was weird. It was a baby in its room, and all of a sudden objects start moving on their own. And then the next day they released a updated version of the film that showed it was actually Pikmin who were helping these objects move around. And everybody was kind of, I guess, like, confused about, like, what are you doing, Nintendo? Is this a stealthy way of announcing a new Pikmin game? Why aren't you just doing this out of the blue? And come to find out, this is something produced by Nintendo Pictures, which is the 3D animation company that they purchased like a couple years ago, a year and a half to 2 years ago. We talked about it on the podcast at the time. Like, why is Nintendo doing this? Apparently so they can make short films like this. It's very much in a sort of Pixar sort of style animation, 3D animation. And they said, hey, this is just something we're doing, we're putting out there. This is not an announcement of anything bigger. It is not a commitment to we're going to make these sorts of short films all the time and put them out. But I don't know, kind of a weird, interesting thing for Nintendo to do, and very Nintendo in that way.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I think of Nintendo as like a hyper-capitalist company in the sense of, like,
there are very good reasons to think of them that way.
Well, and I just like this just cause product that it just feels like the antithesis of that in some way.
Right.
Yeah.
But Nintendo also does do a lot of these, like, weird passion projects that you're just like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder with something like this, hey, we need to give them projects to work on so that they can work up to bigger projects. And, it feels weird and out of place now, but like maybe 3 years down the road, we're getting a Pikmin series or a Pikmin film entirely internally produced by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Instead of teaming up with Illumination and Universal Pictures.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. I was just like this just, as it exists right now, this just feels like, I don't know, Miyamoto walked into the studio like, I need an animation team because we're going to make a little film. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. We can't say no to you, so I guess.
well, so a few years ago, they did produce some Pikmin animated shorts. And those are available online. And my understanding, the story behind that is that Miyamoto did on the DS, like, storyboard those out using his DS and then gave it to them and was like, this is the, like, animation that I want.
I was like, here. Like, thank you.
Which, honestly, what this reminded me of is that Key and Peele sketch where Peel comes in as Stan Lee, like pitching to Marvel, but Stan Lee, and so they're all like, "Oh God, Stan Lee, yeah!" But he pitches like the worst superheroes of all time, and it's really funny. And then, but the last one is like this old guy superhero that basically can control the jobs of all these younger people, and so they're like, "Yeah, Stan Lee, anything you say, yeah."
So that very well may have been what happened. It may have very well been Miyamoto coming in going, I've got an idea. And they're all like, whatever you say.
Well, we just happened to buy this this animation studio.
And, you know, like, and to some fairness, Miyamoto seems to be sort of like the one figuring out how to expand Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right? Like he worked very hands-on, my understanding, the Nintendo Museum that they opened up in Kyoto. And he was obviously like seems to be very hands-on with the Super Mario Brothers film. I assume the same way with the Zelda film, he'll be, you know, working with that. So like this may very well be like, hey, like we need you to figure out the ways to like leave a bigger legacy. You know, like Nintendo has been this game company. We want to be something more. We want to be more the entertainment company.
Like a Disney almost.
Yeah.
Which also then makes sense why he's not in one of those like official executive positions as like president or anything like that. He's like, you just keep doing your creative thing. And maybe that's what he wants. Like, I don't want to deal with all the ins and outs of the business.
Honestly, that sounds like a dream. Like
Sure.
they're gonna listen to me when I doodle on my DS and hand it to them. Like, and I just get to go do my thing. Like, yep.
Well, you compare that to like the CEO position. Like, I mean, I get that's appealing to some people, but that would be the least appealing position to me.
So stressful. No real like artistic.
That's exactly what I mean. It's just like, I'm going to keep doing my thing. That side of the, it means nothing to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, good for Miyamoto. If this is another one of his passion projects, good for him. Let's see. Netflix is doing something kind of interesting with their gaming division. So they are now adding streaming games to their service. So these are games that you're going to be able to, my understanding is on just about any sort of Netflix streaming device, be able to play these games by downloading a separate app. So sort of in the way like, like the Jackbox games, except you will have to download an app. It doesn't work just through your browser, but you download this Netflix gaming app, and then the games themselves will stream through like your television or other device in the same way that sort of like xCloud on the Xbox does with streaming games. And then you'll use your phone and this app as a controller to play these games.
Hopefully they're more like Jackbox, and then there's not a lot of, because I've tried to play like games on Netflix before, and the phone as the controller just does not work very well on them. At least maybe it was the game I tried. I don't know.
Christina is texting me during the middle of this podcast.
I sent them the Stan Lee skit so I didn't forget because it's funny.
It's just weird when I get a notification that somebody's texting me and I look at it, somebody in the podcast. I feel like she's texting me like, there's something wrong with Mario. We need to talk about it.
Hey, I did the whole group.
But anyways, they announced some of these. Lego Party, that is the new Mario Party style game featuring Lego characters. I've
seen people play that actually.
Yeah, I've watched a pretty good amount of people playing it.
I've heard incredibly positive things about that is a better Mario Party than Mario Party.
The people I've watched who've played it would probably agree with that sentiment.
They also Tetris Time Warp. So that is the new Tetris game that was part of Tetris Forever, the Digital Eclipse sort of historical look at the history of Tetris. That was the new one that sort of cycles through different eras while you're playing it, that they developed exclusively for that game. So they're going to bring that to this service. Boggle Party, which makes perfect sense. Just a word game. Pictionary Game Night, which again also makes really great sense. And Party Crashers Fool Your Friends. I have no idea what that is. That sounds like a Jackbox game.
It does. Absolutely.
I'm surprised that they haven't gotten Jackbox, that Netflix just hasn't. I feel like if these are the types of games you're going for,
right,
that feels like we got to figure out how to get a license for the Jackbox games.
I wonder with Jackbox if they're not so well established that in order to license their games, you would basically have to buy the company.
Yeah, that might be fair
to make it worthwhile to the Jackbox people.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
I also wonder if because they've got like their own website that like hosts all of the, that you have to like log into.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? If that then also would create some weirdness in terms of like the crossover with the app or whatever.
Yeah, and they might have to develop special versions in order to work with the time delay on the streaming. Maybe. Like, I don't know how that would work, but
just because it makes me feel like that might be the case. The fact that if you're playing Jackbox on your phone, you still need to go to the website, that they haven't just made their own app, right? Where you can log in via an app.
Right.
That maybe they're just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or even if maybe Netflix has come to it and they're just like, no, we're doing our own thing and we don't want to. But it feels like all these games, I think these are the types of games that make sense.
Right.
That Netflix would want to get, Lego Party, you've got your
Lego Party is a little surprising because the mini games are very Twitch gameplay.
Yeah,
in some cases.
That's definitely fair. But something like Tetris that everybody's familiar with,
right?
Literally, you can get everybody in the family to play that. Same thing with Pictionary.
Grandma knows how to play Tetris.
Exactly. Same thing with Pictionary. Same thing with Boggle. Like, this is anybody who's at your gathering can play this game.
And in Lego Party's defense, like, it is a board game. Everyone understands how to play a board game, and the mini games are very simple.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how the delay works as far as, the sort of Twitch style gameplay, but I mean, as far as the type of game, right? One that's simple and pick up to play, doesn't require a lot of explanation. I think Lego Party is perfect for that.
Yep. And I don't know what Party Crashers is, but it's I assume
like
somewhere.
I looked it up. It looks like a Jackbox type game. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works, but
I mean, there are all those Jackbox knockoffs too. I mean, we played the Rift Tracks game, for example, and I feel like that was very much, sort of knocking off Jackbox and all of that. And so I think, those sorts of companies that have been making those style of games, I could very much see them working with Netflix.
Yeah. Getting the Netflix deal would probably be like a dream come true.
Like those developers who did the Rift Tracks games, like take that, but do it with Netflix properties.
That would be
use clips from Stranger Things and different, different shows and movies they've produced. Like I can completely see that working.
Yeah.
So maybe something like that is being worked on because I feel like that is the sweet spot for this. Yeah. And I think Jackbox hasn't made their own app mostly because like that's the beauty of Jackbox, right? Like that it works on any device. You don't have to wait for everyone to download an app.
That's fair.
In order to use it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So we were talking about this console generation when it would end. There are new rumors out suggesting that we'll get new PlayStation and Xbox hardware in 2027, so in 2 more years. That seems to be what most of the scuttlebutt and the rumors have been for a while now that 2027 seems likely. There have been some rumors about 2026, but that as we approach the end of 2025, that seemed less and less likely.
I mean, yeah, you said 2027, and I was like, oh man, that's next year. Not technically, but almost.
Yeah. It feels like it's less than a year away, right? At this point.
2026 feels like it would be a very quick turnaround with having like no official information.
Right.
It would feel like a very quick turnaround.
So 2027 will be 7 years.
Yeah. Because it was like November, right? Of 2020. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 7 years is what the Switch had, right? So we're looking at, the traditional 5-year console cycle has evolved into a 7-year console cycle.
And I think it's just one of those things that it's hard. It's almost hard to like wrap my head around that it's been 7 years, or that like by that time, I guess it's only been 5 years, but like by that time it will have been 7 years, because it doesn't feel like 5 years has gone by.
Well, I think that's in part because what you were talking about earlier, it was so difficult for people to get these consoles early on because of COVID and the supply chain issues. And so this console cycle feels like it didn't really get started till like 2 years in. That's when we start to really get a lot of those. And even more so, even in those first 2 years, a lot of the games we were getting were games that were still on the old console and the new one. It wasn't until about 2 years in we started getting those exclusive games that you could only play on your PlayStation 5. And only now where it's like every game, for the most part, coming out is an exclusive. If it's not like, some legacy title or something, like it's not till next year we're getting Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
Which is going to be, my understanding, only on these new consoles. It won't be on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. But then that game will have come out a year before the next consoles come out. So just like they did with the PlayStation 3 and 4, they will definitely put out a new version of Grand Theft Auto 6 when those new consoles come out, or sell you an upgrade path or something of that nature. Let's see. There was an interview with Sarah Bond over the weekend. Sarah Bond is, I forget her exact title. I think she's maybe president of Xbox at this point.
I think that's what it is. Because is Phil Spencer of Microsoft?
Well, I think he's over the entire Xbox division.
Oh, okay.
And then I forget what their titles are. He is over her, but she is like the number 2 person, is my understanding.
Because we had talked about her some number of episodes ago because of something. I don't remember at this point. But I feel like when I had read whatever article, it referenced her as the president.
Yeah. I think that might be her title. And maybe his title is CEO of Xbox. And I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, it would be an easy thing to look up. I assume that's what Christina's doing right now, but maybe not.
I just feel like titles of people, I always get confused. I sort of know where they are in the pecking order. But anyways, she did an interview over the weekend in which she was responding to some questions about the Xbox.
She's president.
President, okay. And said, quote, the next Xbox will share some of the thinking, unquote, behind the ROG Ally X. So there's been speculation, people reading into what does that comment mean. If it shares some of the thinking of the ROG Ally X, does that mean the next system will be a handheld of some sort of akin to the Switch? It might be something that you dock and undock. Or what more people have looked at this as, the ROG Ally X is basically a PC. And that the next Xbox will probably lean heavy in that way, in that it might have some console parts, but will also be a PC at the same time.
It would be interesting if, say, the next Xbox you could put Steam onto.
Yeah, and that's been the rumor for a while, that the next Xbox would be a more open architecture. And so you'd be able to install third-party stores, right? Like this is a way that they might also address concerns of the European Union, who has been... pushing
yeah.
Apple and Google with their phones.
Epic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To open those up to third-party stores. So at some point, if you're going to force Apple to allow third-party stores on their phones, why would you not hold that same rule for video game developers?
Mm-hmm.
And that one of the ways Microsoft might get ahead of that is just to say, hey, this is a PC. You can install Steam or the Epic Games Store or whatever else you want on here. I think if they were to do that, I'm still like, I don't, like, is it going to have a console mode and a PC mode that you switch between? Like, is Microsoft finally going to release some sort of emulator to allow you to play old exclusive Xbox games? Are they going to abandon that backwards compatibility with the next Xbox? Like, I guess I can't imagine it's just going to be a PC that is playing games from the Xbox store on PC. Right? Like, I just can't imagine that's what this next console is, that they'll completely abandon those console roots. But maybe, right? Like, I don't know. Like, and at that point, if they do completely abandon that, then it just becomes a PC that they're selling you.
Yeah.
You know, and like maybe they sell you a PC at a really cut rate price that, you know, is cheaper than most people who could go out and buy a PC from Alienware or some other manufacturer. Sure. I just don't know.
So there might be a market for that. Like sort of what we might think of as like a lower tier of a gaming PC.
Yeah.
You know, because it feels like for a lot of people, those are laptops, like the gaming laptops.
Sure.
And so,
especially college students, I think.
Yeah. If you could get more of a desktop style PC, but it's in a, with all the Xbox branding and stuff like that, that might be, I think there could definitely be a market for that, especially if it can play whatever the newer games that are coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they would abandon the legacy, the backwards compatibility? Do you think they would go, hey, this is just a PC, it plays games from the Xbox store on your PC or Steam or Epic Games, but it is not going to play those old games that were developed for the Xbox 360 or the original Xbox?
I think that would be a mistake, but I also don't think they would do that because that would hinder a lot of, maybe it wouldn't hinder a lot of Game Pass, but like, I think of that as being an appealing part of Game Pass, is getting to play those old games, but maybe I'm the outlier in terms of like what people are looking for or how people interact with the legacy content. And because if people aren't doing it, why? Yeah, no, it wouldn't make sense to continue.
I guess I don't understand, like, if they're able to get it from the Xbox store or Steam, why they wouldn't also have access to Game Pass, or if like they could move Game Pass.
Well, the question I'm asking is, like, there are games that were developed for the Xbox 360 to run on that hardware, and you can emulate those and play them on an Xbox Series S or X, right? But you can't play those on a Windows PC, right? So if it's just a PC, then that backwards compatibility to the old Xbox hardware wouldn't exist.
Well, and maybe that's why, like, they're thinking they need to build like their own PC type, so it's not necessarily running on Windows.
And that might be. Sorry, I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No.
I was just saying that might be the difference of like having a console mode and a PC mode, similar to like that what the Steam Deck is able to do.
Right, where you can boot out into Linux if you want to run something in Linux. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I
think it's also, I mean, this is all speculation at this point in time. But it's interesting to speculate about.
I do think, like, when I look at Xbox, their next console cannot just be a more powerful Xbox.
Yeah.
Like, whether this is the right route for them to go down or not. I feel like they've gone far enough down this route. There's no going back. And I think I may have actually cut the story. But yeah, there was like controversy in the 2 weeks that we were not recording. So Costco, I think in our last episode, we talked, Costco had pulled Xbox hardware from shelves. Then Sam's Club was doing like clearance on their Xbox hardware. So the two big, warehouse club stores were both seemed to be getting rid of Xbox hardware. And then there were rumors that Walmart and Target were pulling Xbox hardware from their store shelves. That rumor turned out to be false. It got spread on Reddit.
Oh yeah, it was on one of the other rundowns you sent to us.
I think one of the early versions that was on there, but that turned out to be false. But that blew up into a big story, a big enough story that Xbox had to put out a statement saying, "No, this is not true.
Yeah, we're
still fully committed to our retail partners, and they are still fully committed to us." And I think all of that sort of black cloud swirling around Xbox as a brand, right, kind of plays into this about when everything's an Xbox, what is an Xbox?
Sure.
Right? That marketing is very clever, but I think it's left a lot of the public going, well, I don't know what Xbox is anymore.
Yeah. And it in terms of thinking about all this speculation, it does make sense that they're like, we need to pivot in some way that is meaningful enough that allows us to not necessarily like get out of the direct competition with something like PlayStation, but allows us to like create a new space that we know PlayStation has no intention of getting into.
I mean, that's how Nintendo is as successful, even though their stuff isn't as powerful. They have their own niche with like family stuff,
And not just their games, but specifically with the Switch, right? Of combining their handheld and console markets and saying, hey, we're going to this handheld direction.
Yeah.
Like really was, genius for Nintendo because they gave you a console experience in a handheld, right? Which, of course, there have been rumors that Microsoft and Sony would try to copy, but like that really set Nintendo apart more than it ever has been before. They kind of did that with the Wii, right?
Yeah.
And
they tried.
well, successful at first, at least with the Wii. It sold well. But like, that has been wildly successful, so not just their games, but like kind of in two different ways, they've differentiated themselves. I think you're right. That feels like what Microsoft is trying to do, but they haven't quite nailed down that formula yet. And it feels like what they have to do because they've lost to PlayStation. Like, I don't know that they can ever recover.
I think it would take a massive fumble by PlayStation.
And they're completely capable of that.
It's one of those things that it's like, I don't know if Xbox continuing on the same trajectory, I don't know if they could overcome. They would need a massive fumble or stumble by Sony.
Well, and how
again, not impossible.
Right.
And how do you do that at this point when you are, putting Forza Horizon out on the PlayStation 5? Right? Like you would have to go back against all of that, I think, to really be effective.
Yeah, in some ways they might not want that from Sony because they've committed to this cross-platforming for their games.
Sure. Greg Johnson, one of the co-creators of Toe Jam and Earl, claims that a new game is in the planning stages. He said this as part of a discussion where he was talking about the Toe Jam and Earl movie, which is apparently in development at Amazon, and he said is stalled, which, shocker. Like, I love Toe Jam and Earl, but who is that movie for? What is the audience for a Toe Jam and Earl movie?
It was just for you.
It is for a very small audience. I would be very excited that they did that, but like this is not Sonic the Hedgehog. Let's be honest here. But a new Toe Jam and Earl game, maybe that does make a lot of sense if you are making this movie, right? Like you would want to be able to cross promote those two.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mark Alexis Cote. I'm not entirely certain on that pronunciation.
Cote,
that
yeah.
sounds right. He was one of the bosses behind Assassin's Creed, has quit Ubisoft. And I think that's notable, but I think why it's particularly notable is around the same time that he quit, another story came out about Assassin's Creed that Ubisoft had canceled in development Assassin's Creed game due to quote unquote political concerns.
Yeah.
That game planned to focus on a black man in Reconstruction America. So in the immediate sort of aftermath of the Civil War. And the rumors is that basically looking at the current political state in America, thought that this game was not the best idea to release at this time. I am guessing their concern was less sales and more political fallout towards the company. And so when you put these two stories side by side, you start going, oh, okay, maybe there's some sort of link here between him quitting and this game getting canceled. We don't know that, but
Yeah. It makes sense.
maybe some internal strife
Yeah.
there. And, like, look, I don't like to talk politics on this podcast because it's a podcast about video games. But if you wonder why sometimes politics do come up, it's because politics do affect this industry. And so not just financially on that side and the regulation side, but in creative decisions that get made, right? So a game that was in development gets entirely scrapped for political reasons, or at least that's the claim. So if you can see that in a game like this, then you start to go, okay, there is a trickle down effect in the sorts of decisions game developers are making across the board, right? And so this is kind of a big example in like the theme of the game, but then you start thinking, what does this do to representation of queer characters in video games?
And I think the thing that's so frustrating about this is this is where you see how ridiculous the whole keep politics out of my video games. Like that's just such a ridiculous claim, because if this game were to come out and you have that whole crowd of people are like, oh, keep your politics out of my games, not making this game is a political decision. And so it's frustrating because this is a game that, I don't know if deserve is the right word, but like deserves to get made.
Yeah.
Right.
But can't or won't because of all of the shit that just exists today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a game like Mafia 3 that has you playing a black man, and one of the levels is you attacking a KKK rally at night, right? And you look at that and go, man, does that game get made today? And you go, that's insane, because don't we all agree that the KKK is bad? Does Wolfenstein 2 get made where...
That's the game I was thinking of when I read this.
Yeah, where, the Nazis have taken over America. And, like one of my favorite scenes is the Nazi and the Klansmen talking to each other. And you see the disdain that they have for each other. And, I mean, it's all done for satirical purposes in that game. Like they're saying, look at these jackasses. And you go, well, does that game happen today, or does that sort of commentary within the game happen today?
I think if it was, it would get the backlash that we've been talking about that this game would probably get.
Well, that game at release got backlash because their advertising was like, we hate Nazis, and people were like, stop being political. And you're like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Indiana Jones is not. Nobody ever called that a political film.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's why I think a story like this is important. That's why we talk about politics on here, because that chilling effect is not just about this game getting canceled. It is about the games that never get pitched. It is about the erasure of characters within games, representation of different characters within games. That happens when people start worrying about outside political forces. Let's see. The Outsiders, the makers of Metal Hellsinger, has been closed down by Funcom, which was the parent company that owned them, had bought them. This is sad. I really like Metal Hellsinger. It's not shocking. I doubt that game was a huge seller, but that was a very cool game. So we wish them the best. This week, Nintendo has announced that Kirby Air Riders is getting a second direct dedicated just to it, and it will be 60 minutes long. When I posted this in the group, Alicia was excited about this. Good for her. I cannot imagine. That first one was like 40 minutes long, and I watched that. I had it on in the background while I was playing something. I was like, how are they still talking about this kart racing game?
Convoluted game, Justin.
And now we're going to
Very
have
complex gameplay.
we're going to have another hour talking about it. Can you imagine 2 hours of talking about Mario Kart?
Yeah. I won't watch it, but I can imagine it.
This is crazy. Like, this is insanity. Like, Nintendo's lost it.
I think it just goes to show like how much stock they've put into this game as like one of their big opening window or launch window games.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about how much they're giving this compared to Metroid Prime,
Yeah.
right? And Metroid Prime,
Even Donkey Kong, like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think Donkey Kong got a dedicated direct.
no, I think they gave an extended preview in one of those
Okay.
directs,
Sure.
but if they
Certainly
did,
not 2 hours worth.
yeah, certainly not even an hour's worth. Like, it was something very short. Like, it's crazy. It's so weird. It's such an insane Nintendo thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I will say it does make me somewhat morbidly curious. Like, how are you going to fill another hour about this game? I feel like they're going to be like, well, here's Meta Knight. He's got a hat. He's got 5 hats you can switch between.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of rehashing of the same stuff, but still, it's wild.
Yeah, that's Nintendo at their most crazy. Let's see. Amazon Web Services had an outage. This was Sunday night going into Monday of this week. So you may have noticed lots of websites went down and weren't functioning, including our online learning system. So students couldn't access that. So that was fun. But that also affected a lot of gaming stuff. So PlayStation Network, Fortnite, Roblox, Pokemon Go, Epic Games, Clash of Clans, Wordle, and more were all affected by Amazon Web Services, the disruptions in it. Yeah, so just kind of interesting to see how many video games, are using the Amazon Web Services, basically cloud computing, if you're wondering. Cloud storage, all sorts of different functionalities online. So lots of games are built on this because game developers can't afford to run their own cloud systems. So they're actually running all this through this. Microsoft, in turn, is probably using their own system. Azure is the name of that. So, yeah, kind of interesting. There has been some calls in the wake of this, people pointing at this and saying, hey, if one basic service can go down and take out a significant portion of the internet, maybe this should be broken up. I think Senator Warren, Elizabeth Warren, specifically pointed out this. She had made some post on social media that said, hey, if one company can take out the entire internet, and I was reading the comments, there was all these people going, it wasn't the entire internet, she's an idiot. And I was like, she knows that.
It's called hyperbole. It's a literary device meant to
Exaggerate.
Literary devices. That sounds dumb. Don't need no reading. But yeah, I mean, you do look at this and go, man, this took down a lot of gaming.
Well, a lot of gaming and a lot of other things too. It's
Things
kinda,
more important than gaming in a lot of cases.
It's kind of crazy how much it took down.
Yeah. The founder of Team Ninja at Tecmo, Itagaki, passed away this last week. He was 58 years old. For those who don't know, at one point, I feel like he was one of the most well-known names in video games, less so over the last, 10 or so years. But he was the creator of the Dead or Alive fighting game franchise. He was also the director on the 3D Ninja Gaiden games. So he didn't have anything to do with the original 2D NES ones, but like the modern Xbox 3D ones, he was the director on those games. So somebody who, like we don't really have auteurs in video games because video games require such big teams. But like he was one of those names that people associate it with a game franchise. And had a very kind of outsized personality and everything that went along with that. And obviously contributed a lot. The Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden franchises have been wildly successful. And I would say, particularly with Ninja Gaiden, very influential.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's a great loss. And obviously our best wishes to his friends and family and those in the industry that knew him. Atari is releasing the Intellivision Sprint on December 5th for $150. This is wild to me. Atari and Intellivision were once bitter rivals, and now Atari owns Intellivision, so they're putting out a standalone console that will connect to your TV. You have HDMI, and it's going to try to recreate the experience of playing classic Intellivision. It's going to have 45 games packed into it. And then the really crazy part to me is, if you've never seen the controller for the Intellivision, it is a wild controller. It has sort of a dial controller on it. And then it has a numeric keypad. And so with the original Intellivision, games would come with these little plastic overlays to put over the keypads. If you're more familiar with the Atari Jaguars, something somewhat similar to how that had the keypad, and you could put overlays over it so you would know what each button did. So they're going to include 2 copies of that overlay for every one of these 45 games so that 2 people can play the games together and everything. So that's going to be included with this $150 system. Of course, the Intellivision games, you can get those as part of, the Atari 50 collection. They released DLC that puts a lot of those Intellivision games into it. So there are other ways to get this. This is very much a sort of nostalgia play for people who want to relive their childhood with an Intellivision. But I think this is kind of interesting, kind of neat. Atari's doing some really fun stuff, putting out this kind of hardware. And, it's one of those things like, don't buy it if you're not interested. Mm-hmm. But it's neat for the people who are interested and would want it. Rovio is laying off 36 staff members. They're, of course, the Angry Birds developers. They were bought by Sega. Their most recent game, Angry Birds Dream Blast, is, quote, not performing as expected, unquote. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of obvious, like, how long can Angry Birds continue to be a franchise? It seems like they have milked everything imaginable out of that as a franchise. And, you know, there's nothing, like, I say that sort of flippantly, but not towards these people losing their jobs, right? But, like, do we need another Angry Birds game? Is anyone clamoring for it, I guess?
I think it comes to a point where you kind of just got to, like, as the people at Rovio, just, like, tip your cap to an IP. You got 2 films out of this. I think this is the company that bought them more recently, but, like, sometimes you just got to be impressed with, like, what you had and be okay, like, laying it to rest.
I mean, you know, you'd see little kids walking around with Angry Bird T-shirts on and stuff, and they were selling plushies of the different birds. You know, I know that the red bird on there, I saw those for sale in stores. So, yeah, the amount they have milked out of this franchise for a simple little phone game, right? And like you said, turning it into 2 films, you know, and successful films is my understanding. Certainly that first one was to get a second one.
I went to go see it in theaters. I'm not going to lie.
There you go. So won't see Minecraft, but Angry Birds.
What?
Won't see freaking Borderlands with us. Maybe if Angry Birds 3 comes out, we'll finally get Christina to go to the movies.
I don't want to. I didn't see the second one, so I can't see the third one.
Oh yeah, well you won't be able to follow the plot.
Yeah, the canonical lore.
That's what I'm saying.
Too much.
Too much.
I'm sure it's very interconnected, way more than the Sonic the Hedgehog film.
Christina might not be able to wrap her head around it all.
Things are rough right now.
It's complex.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not told in linear order, so like you really have to see, because some part of part 2 is actually taking place after part 3, and so you're really having to figure it out. It's really like the Fast.
About Angry Birds.
It's like the Fast and the Furious films.
I'm out.
The Red Bird is going to show up, and he's actually still alive.
Did he die?
I mean, he was thrown into a building at some point.
Oh, I thought he lived. It's been a while since.
That is the premise for the game.
Oh.
Maybe you shouldn't see number 3.
Listen, I didn't.
I thought you were joking about it being too hard for her to follow.
Listen, I didn't say I played the game. I watched the movie.
I lived it. Didn't play the game. Somebody put me in a giant slingshot the other day and threw me across campus to a bunch of pigs. I don't even know how we go on. Well, you might actually be particularly interested in this, Christina. Quantic Dream, who is best known for things like Heavy Rain and Detroit and
2 Souls or
Beyond 2 Souls.
That one.
Beyond 2 Souls. They have announced a new game, Spellcasters Chronicles, which doesn't seem like both of those should be plural, but anyways. A new 3 versus 3 online strategy action game, which will be going to beta later this year. This is one of the weirdest announcements.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know of any other game they've made other than those like David Cage story games.
Yeah.
So this definitely feels like a departure from what at least what they're most known for. Because I think the last announcement was, years ago, they announced that Star Wars one.
Well, as part of this, Star Wars Eclipse is the title.
Okay.
They announced that they are still working on that game.
That game still exists.
You know, somebody pointed out, I could not remember this detail, that game was originally announced as part of their whole High Republic marketing blitz, where they were setting novels and comics and stuff in the High Republic era of Star Wars. That TV show, the last one that they did, The Acolyte.
Oh.
I couldn't think of the title of it.
Okay.
That one.
You know I'm not a Star Wars person.
Okay, me either.
That one was set in that era. Anyways, it was a whole marketing blitz of all that stuff was meant to tie in together.
Okay.
And was supposed to have a beginning, middle, and end for the storyline.
Okay.
That Star Wars Eclipse was meant to tie into that, and it is still nowhere near out. So I don't know that we ever see that game. But apparently we are going to see the Spellcasters game very soon.
I feel like Disney will push out a game, even if it's not great. That game will get made.
Maybe, or maybe Disney will have a look at that game and go, "What the hell are you people doing?"
Maybe. Yeah. But I said I was still in Boise when that game got announced, so it's been at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the timeline for games is long, but
It feels like
if you figure however many years had gone into it before it had been announced,
yeah.
only to then
Right.
be another 4 years is a long one.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that game ever comes out.
Yeah.
I do think it's weird that it has been a while since we've gotten a new David Cage game. It feels like one of those things that those games are pretty successful, is my understanding. And so it feels like one of those things where they would be pumping one of those out every couple of years.
Yeah, I was just thinking, part of me feels like maybe those games, I could see those games taking a while just because if you're trying to path out all those branches.
Sure.
But maybe not if the gameplay isn't necessarily the most in depth.
Well, the Until Dawn people, they kind of went off on their own, started doing, that whole, what did they call that franchise? There was an umbrella title to those games.
Dark Pictures?
Yes.
Yeah, the Dark
Yes.
Pictures.
Those people?
And they were turning those out fairly regularly. Not all of them were great, but some of those were pretty entertaining. And I feel like that if that team could do it, it feels like something Quantic Dream should have been doing those at least every few years.
Yeah. I chuckle just because I think, maybe they're thinking we got to really please the Star Wars people. If we want to piss off anybody, it's not the Star Wars people.
Well, look, the Star Wars people are just constantly pissed off, so there's no pleasing them. They're like any fandom at this point. Let's see. Okay, so there was a Scarface game that got released on, I believe it was the 360 generation. It also got released onto PC. And then in the past few days, a page has popped up on Steam, and the game has popped up for sale on the Epic Games Store of an HD remaster of that game. So that was kind of weird for a game to just pop up out of nowhere like that. Then it got really weird. So apparently the way they were doing the AI remaster was it was going to be a separate file download. So you would get the original game, but you could download an HD update to the game. And that was all going to be done using AI, which is how they did that Grand Theft Auto trilogy collection when they did the remaster of that. And that went super well.
Okay. I didn't know that about the Grand Theft Auto ones.
Yeah, when they did 3 and Vice City and San Andreas. I don't know if they ever actually admitted to that, but people looked at it and were like, this looks like AI did this. A lot of this is like weird, like the textures and everything. So anyways, they announced that they were going to this was going to come out and everything, or it popped up and people like had, there was details on there about it. And then people who bought it on the Epic Game Store noticed that it included 2 mods that fans had created for the game to sort of update and make the game more playable and everything. And one of the modders was alerted to this and said, they never reached out to us. Mm-hmm. They never asked me, could they use this mod, right? So, the fact that it's getting packaged in and sold as part of this game, like you can't really do that without asking permission first. And then
or some amount of royalties or something, I would imagine.
And then he also commented that the film IP owners, so Scarface is obviously a classic film, had previously said that there was no way they would ever let that game be re-released. So he said he cannot imagine that they have the approval from the film IP owners. So now everybody's looking at this going, wait, what the hell is going on with the release of this game?
Yeah, that's odd.
And it feels very much like somebody who maybe got the rights to this game just thought, well, we can just slap it together and throw it up onto these online retail sites and sell it, but didn't realize that they would have to get permission of the modders, permission of the film right owners. Mm-hmm. Apparently there's licensed music in the game, and the license to that music has certainly expired by now. So nice. Did they actually go and get the rights to that? Which this makes me sort of think about, you hear stories of some older video games where the developers or publishers are no longer in existence, and it's like some insurance company owns the rights to the game. Windjammers, at one point, somebody tracked it down when they were trying to put that game back out, and they found that some insurance company in like Michigan owned the rights to that game. And this feels like a situation where somebody found out they owned the rights to this game and was like, well, we can just put it back out, and didn't understand any of the complexities of doing that.
Yeah.
So this is a developing story. We'll, I guess, find out more about it, but it's a certainly weird one. Mm-hmm. And speaking of AI, NBC has signed a deal with Wolf Games. Wolf Games as in Dick Wolf, the producer of Law and Order and the Chicago franchise. They have signed a deal with Wolf Games to make AI games based on NBC Universal IP. So not just games based on Law and Order, but on all sorts of properties under NBC Universal.
The Office game is going to go crazy.
Right.
There already is like a phone game for The Office.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I watched Law and Order SVU, and I was like, this is going to be awful.
That's what, when I saw this, I was like, Dick Wolf.
Yeah.
Isn't that the Law and Order guy?
Yeah.
The donk thing came in my head.
When I first saw this, I thought, oh, they're going to use AI to make Law and Order games. So like there's an unlimited number of cases, right, that you can do. And I was like, okay, that's probably going to be bad, but like logically I can kind of understand where they're going with that. Because you could, like you said, you have 20 years of SVU scripts. You could just feed into this and
sure.
It's like, what is Benson up to this week? And she's outraged at the system.
Fair.
What crazy thing can you get AI Ice-T to say?
I just want to play as Elliot.
Sorry, he's in his own show now.
Oh, that's right. Well, but that's an NBC show.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
Dick Wolf show. What is that one called? Major Crimes?
Something like that. I don't know. It's something to do with drugs. I don't know.
I've never watched a Law and Order. All I know is Ice-T says crazy things.
I mean,
never like a single episode?
Nope.
That's insane.
My summer after my first year of grad school, I just binge watched SVU like over and over, probably to my detriment. But I didn't have anything else to do.
My students this morning had never seen any of the Matrix films. And I thought that was really bizarre to me.
Not even the new bad one.
No, not even the new bad one with Neil Patrick Harris.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's in the
It
new
was
Matrix.
like 2 years ago, 3 years ago that came out.
I think longer than that. Like I feel like that was still
maybe.
in COVID times when that came out.
COVID time.
Yeah, that does sound accurate.
But I thought this was going to be a Law and Order game or a Chicago Fire game, and they were just going to, hey, we have hundreds or thousands of these scripts. We can just feed them into the machine, and it will just pop out new, an unlimited number of storylines for you. But this apparently is maybe not all, but a larger smattering of NBC Universal IP, so both television and film.
See, then I think the question that follows is, what's the craziest NBC game that they could potentially make?
Well, I mean, Minions would fall under this.
Oh shoot. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like the Minions are already made by AI, so maybe that doesn't really matter. Let's see, Universal properties, that would be Back to the Future.
I mean, I still think Law and Order would be a crazy game.
I was Googling. I was like, I'm thinking just like, what would be the silliest one? I was like, what does the Late Night with Seth Meyers video game look like?
That might be too political.
Yeah.
Or the This Is Us video game.
No.
How to get my mom into gaming finally.
Look, that would be the first video game where a crock pot is your enemy.
I was just thinking the crock pot. I was like, where is
That's all I know about that show.
Yeah, same.
I know Jess from Gilmore Girls gets killed by a crock pot.
Well, you've ruined it for everyone listening.
It was a show that ended its run like a few years ago.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, like weird. I guess we'll see what comes of this and everything. They actually made some adventure games using Law and Order several years back, and I don't know. I think people thought they were okay for what they were.
I mean, hey, we all heard for basically a year and a half how much people can fall in love with the Ace Attorney games. I feel like you could do something similar with Law and Order.
I mean, yes, if you have Sam Waterston going, objection! I feel like Alicia would eat that up.
Yeah.
All right. That does it for news. Let's move on to our big question. And so we are a little over, a week and a half out from Halloween. And so we thought we would talk about what are the 5 best games to play for Halloween.
Okay. That's a different question than how I originally interpreted it. I was thinking the 5 scariest games.
Oh.
Well, why don't
Because
we
that's
think...
a different question. There's a Monster Truck Madness. So I'd be pretty horrified. Super Mario Kart, I'd be pretty horrified to play that too.
Garfield Kart. Don't make me play it.
I mean, that's traumatizing more than scary.
Okay, fair.
One of the most traumatic games to play. So what are the 5 best games to if you want to get into that sort of Halloween mood, what games would you
I have
like?
categories even. Like,
Whoa.
I know.
Got a whole damn
I was
paragraph
thinking,
down there.
I was thinking like old school, like Resident Evil, like the original, although number 2 is also pretty decent, or Silent Hill. Dead by Daylight has a Halloween event.
I'm
Well,
shocked it came in at number 3 for Christina.
I feel like Dead by Daylight, it doesn't have to have a specific Halloween event. That is just a Halloween game.
But like it also the Halloween event.
She just really wants to justify it.
And what I was also thinking, and we've actually kind of talked about one of these games already, is even for individuals who aren't big like gamers, like the stories, I wrote down Until Dawn or The Quarry. Like The Quarry, I think for me in particular would be one, just because it has that like summer camp vibe to it. I don't know.
Those games fit the vibe of, hey, you want to come over and watch scary movies?
Yeah. Let's
It's
play through the scary movie. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think those games, more than any other games, really are a scary movie come to life, like a classic slasher, like encapsulated into a video game.
Absolutely. And then the other one I have on here it's probably the scary game. Listen.
Do you want to go get like a coffee or something, Mario, and just let her finish?
Christina's got the rest of the podcast episode.
I didn't know. I thought we were each answering this. Like, that's why I wrote down so many.
I think you've given us more than five.
More
No, I didn't. Did I?
Well, I guess Until Dawn and the Warrior
We're teasing you.
Oh, okay. Well, that one kind of goes in together. But the only other one I want to add, and then I'll shut up.
These two games are one game, really.
Well, but they're both story games. I said that's the genre. The Mortuary Assistant. They also have a Halloween mode.
That's I'm thinking of a different game. Mortuary Assistant is another like scary, like it's a 3D game, right? Okay.
Yeah.
The one I'm thinking of is called like the Gravekeepers.
Oh.
So that's like a 2D game. It's not. It's like a more of a Stardew Valley style. You're like upkeeping a graveyard.
Now, this one you're working as a mortuary assistant, trying to figure out
Graveyard Keeper.
That sounds right.
which body a demon is in before the demon like inhabits your body. And for the Halloween thing, they have like a clown body and like a Dracula body that you can.
That's a single player game.
Yes.
So I think sometimes when that game first came out, I confused it as being more similar to Phasmophobia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That you can play with multiple people.
Yeah. But it's not actually like that.
Yeah.
A friend, she plays on Halloween every year. Grabbed by the Ghoulies, which is the old rare.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So we
And
were
that's
trying
your
to.
family-friendly scary game.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to make a collective list.
I didn't know. It was not clear.
Christina. Well, here's my list. If you need, if you actually care.
If any of you feel like you should get to talk,
I feel like on this I don't know, podcast thing, I tend to be like the scary video game person.
That's not
Really?
I thought you were what you were gonna say.
What did you think? We'll talk later.
really, you think we come to you for scary games?
Well, I think that I usually am the one that I don't think you come to me for scary games, no. But I think I tend to be the one that plays scary games.
I think we're just teasing you. Right? You don't have to take this.
I'm autistic. I can't. Sarcasm I don't understand.
No, I mean, like I said, outside of Grabbed by the Ghoulies are like the obvious ones. I'm not a scary movie, scary game. That's not what I tend to gravitate towards anyway. So,
so I thought of a few to add to this list.
That's a good one.
I knew Christina would have a lot. Maybe not as many as she did. So one of the ones that I always sort of think about is Eternal Darkness on the GameCube.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That game for me is one of the most effective horror games because it was just so much fun how it played around with you as the player, right? All the sanity effects and everything in it. The other one I thought about was Costume Quest, which is a game that takes place on Halloween. So it's a sort of role-playing game where your characters are out trick-or-treating and you are getting updates and everything. There's like a animated series based on that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think to me, that's like the quintessential Halloween game. Let's see, a couple others.
So the other one that kind of fits my type of horror game would be something like a Luigi's Mansion.
Oh yeah.
That's actually a really good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
Especially part 3.
I still never played number 3, but you could probably go with any of them. But
Yeah.
I know you really like 3. You've said that you think that's probably the best of them.
Yeah, I think it's the best one. But like we didn't talk about, but they just announced, I think last night, that the original is coming to the Nintendo Classics on Switch
Nice.
on October 30th.
Nice.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
So that's a good release date for that right at Halloween.
That's perfect.
So in addition to Luigi's Mansion, 2 others that I thought of. One is Pumpkin Jack, which I feel like is a game that a lot of people don't know. It's a sort of action platformer, character platformer on PC. It may have come to consoles at some point, but I usually see it talked about on PC. It's kind of just a fun little game. And the other one I thought of was Friday the 13th. And for me, the like sort of quintessential version of Friday the 13th is the original NES game.
I was thinking that one or the Nightmare on Elm Street too when I was like thinking about the list. Yeah.
But like I think that original Friday the 13th is not a great game. But at the time, like there was no other like horror games, and that game was genuinely like terrifying as a kid because you were so overpowered by Jason, and so it just really felt like such a unique experience at the time. So we have 6, 9, 10, 12 games.
Well, it's one of those things that I think Christina's right in that a lot of these do kind of fit in different categories.
Sure.
And I think we could probably find like one of each because it feels like, yes, obviously you could have like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but those feel like they fit in a same sort of category. Same thing with, I guess I see Friday the 13th and I keep thinking of the new one. It's
Sure,
like that
as
and
Dead by
Dead by Daylight
Yeah.
kind of fit the same category.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we're trying to narrow this down to 5, I think one of the things to do is, are there any on this list that we would say absolutely is like, if you were going to recommend, here's a game to play for Halloween?
Well, the one that you mentioned, the Costume Quest or
Yeah,
whatever,
that feels like
that
a-
feels like
yeah.
a Halloween game to me.
Okay, so, and I would say Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, because I feel like no other game brings in all the different horror icons
Yeah.
and everything.
That and I like with Dead by Daylight that there's like a multiplayer aspect to
Yeah.
it as
It
well.
is-
I don't know if you could like play it multiplayer on a couch with.
Not with that one.
As I
but-
say, because unless you were all, anyways.
Yeah.
But
I have
like
before,
this-
but I've been on a PC while someone's been on PlayStation.
I say something like that, or I know you've got Phasmophobia, or like something like the Lethal Company that's like a multiplayer.
Yeah.
I think something like that should be included as well.
I mean, I might lean more towards Phasmophobia, but I think Dead by Daylight's the more obvious
Yeah,
choice.
I think that's.
I would
yeah,
go
I've got
with Dead by Daylight. So then that leaves 3 other choices to
I
kind of
think-
round this out.
I was gonna say I think either whichever one, Until Dawn or The Quarry, any
Oh
of
yeah,
that type
I was
of
thinking
game.
like a story game.
Yeah,
on
I
it
think
and
that or I've never played like the Man of Medan, but any of those
Yeah.
types of
Right.
games
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
fit
yeah.
in that category, and I feel like whichever one
I
we
was
would
trying to
want to
think. The
put.
Quarry is during the summer, and Until Dawn is during the winter. And so, if you're thinking like fall cozy vibes, maybe Until Dawn. But also, The Quarry just gives me kind of like Friday the 13th vibes because of the summer camp.
I think The Quarry is it's a better game than Until Dawn, right?
Agreed.
Like it's the game that
Agreed.
came after. It's a more evolved version of that style of game. I really like Until Dawn, but I think The Quarry is maybe the better version of that game,
Agreed. Yeah. I
And-
would vote for The Quarry.
and maybe the best version they've made of any
Yeah,
of those games.
for sure. And then
I was trying to think when I was thinking earlier, because I know, like I said, I don't have any maybe like conventional scary games, but the other one that I thought of was like Parasite Eve, but that's canonically a Christmas game. 'Cause it takes place on Christmas.
Well, it's like one of those Nightmare
the-
Before Christmas,
I was
right?
gonna say,
Is
it's
that a
the-
Halloween or
it's
Christmas?
the Die
film?
Hard
Yes,
of video
a video
games.
game.
Yeah, but like, I mean, particularly Nightmare Before Christmas, because people debate that.
Sure,
Is that
sure.
a Halloween or a Christmas movie? And it's like, it's both.
Yeah.
Die Hard's just good year round.
Maybe Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know we've got Costume Quest as kind of like a all ages type of game, but I think I would like to see either Grabbed by the Ghoulies or Luigi's Mansion added as well.
Yeah, and I think of those two, like I think Grab of the Ghoulies is like a fun game, but I think the Luigi's Mansion games are better.
Yeah.
Sure.
Agreed.
So why don't we? I think 3 is the best version.
that's
so we'll
fine.
say that. And then
Which the one it is doesn't really matter.
do
to
we
me.
want to go old school with Friday the 13th?
I'll take off Pumpkin Jack because that's not going to make it.
I
Well-
was thinking either Resident Evil or Friday the 13th, depending on how old school we want to go.
Yeah, Eternal Darkness too.
Oh, shit,
is still
yeah, that
there.
Yeah.
I would take Resident Evil probably over Silent Hill, though. I think
Yes.
Silent Hills may be a little scarier.
Yeah. And the new one that just came out, Silent Hill F, is effed up. Like, it's crazy.
So I could see any of those 4. I would say that Eternal Darkness and Resident Evil and Silent Hill are all better games than the original Friday the 13th. Though, Friday the 13th is...
That's kind of the one that started it all. So that's why I was like, I don't know if... I'm also trying to think of what would put me in the mood to be scared.
I think I would probably go with Friday the 13th. I think the other 3 are obviously great, but I guess I feel like something like as the scary game, I feel like The Quarry kind of gets at that in terms of like the scary movie
Yeah,
style of
yeah,
game.
for sure.
Because I feel like that's the vibe that I would be going for. And I feel like if I were going to be playing Resident Evil, I'd rather just play like The Quarry. I think what I would be trying to get out of it, I think The Quarry just fulfills better.
Agreed.
Because I feel like the other game that wasn't on here, but it's doing the same thing, would be something like Crow Country.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's very much a Resident Evil
Yeah.
knockoff.
So I would probably say Friday the
Friday.
13th. I
I'm
think
okay
is
with
like a historical option.
Yes.
Sorry, I mean, we're not doing a Mount Rushmore, but that
No,
would
I know,
be our
but-
George Washington
But
our Mount Rushmore.
I guess I just think if we kind of have gone with these different categories, not officially, but
I'm
like I
okay
said, I
with
feel
that.
like Friday the 13th is doing something a little bit different.
Agreed.
And we have 2 very sort of family friendly, which I like.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
And like one's, I think The Quarry is a sort of newcomer friendly game. Like if you're not heavy into video games, and then Dead by Daylight is your sort of game.
Multiplayer.
Do you want to play the slasher?
Sure.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I think if we're going to put one of those style of games, those asymmetrical horror games, right? There's been a lot of those. I think that is, as
That's
we
the
often
one.
talk about, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Just because you can play all of them.
It does feel maybe a little odd to not have something like Resident Evil on our Halloween games list, but nobody
I-
needs to be told about Resident Evil.
I was about to say, and I don't think so either, just because like scary doesn't necessarily equate Halloween, even though
Sure.
you know what I mean. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, I do not associate Resident Evil with Halloween,
Yeah.
whereas Costume Quest, I very much do.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I would almost go so far to say as I would connect something like Castlevania more to Halloween than Resident Evil.
sure, yeah, I can completely see something like one of the Castlevania games being on here. It'd be Castlevania 2 for me. the weird one. I mean, that game is actually genuinely like weird and creepy versus I feel like the more modern ones are fantastic games, much better games, but maybe not as like creepy. All right. So our 5 best games to play for Halloween are Costume Quest, Dead by Daylight, The Quarry, Friday the 13th on the NES, and Luigi's Mansion 3. So there you go. Send angry emails to Christina.Ivey at siu.edu. Look, she gave us most of the list
I did.
before we had a chance to breathe.
I didn't know. I mistook the assignment.
No, it's okay. I don't think I would have been able to come up with 5 games.
No, like-
or it would have been
I had
weird
more than
ones.
5, but I crossed them out.
Hey, I had this on as a question for us to do for this month, and I was like, I'm not doing it until Christina is there. So I think actually I scrapped it one week because you weren't going to be here. And I was like, well, we'll wait till Christina's here because
It says
It's a
FNAF.
I was just say it was that 5 Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh well,
Probably another good option.
yeah. I mean, if Alicia was here, definitely we would have had an argument for that being on
But
the
I
list.
didn't even want to go down that road. So
Well, I don't know. That's one any of us could make the argument for it. Like, have you played those games?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've watched a lot of them. I'm more familiar
they're
with the
scary
lore
the
of those
first few
games than I would
minutes with
want
the
to.
jump scare, but then you get over it.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And Halloween's not necessarily about scary. It can just be about fun and the experience of it and everything. All right. Well, we will have an episode hopefully next week leading into Halloween. And so maybe we'll have some tricks and treats ready for that. But until then, thank you, Christina. Thank you, Mario, for joining me. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. As always, you can find more by going to our website at salukigames.com. If you have comments, questions, suggestions, you can email me at justin.young@sau.edu. And until next week, take care of yourself, play something fun, and we will talk to you soon.